Welcome to Competitive Air Gunning. Today I'm going to go over with you my current rifle setup and my bag loadout that I take to every NRL and every PRS match that I attend. And half the time when I go target practicing, whether it's basic range or whether it's at a friend's house, I tend to always bring the exact same gear every time. It helps me get through the stages, helps me become more efficient, and let's get to it. We're going to start off today with the FX Panthera 700. This gun has a very big plenum, which houses all your air to be able to launch a projectile down the barrel. The 700mm barrel gives you plenty of barrel to build up speed. Unlike a traditional powder burner, after a cartridge has burned up all of its powder, you may get a couple inches before your projectile starts slowing down in the barrel. Versus an air gun, when you shoot these, your air goes down and your projectile continues to build speed. So longer barrels really help out and play a big difference in trying to get big velocities. Now with big velocities, you need slugs. You want to compete with rimfire, these matches, you're going to want to use slugs. Now this is a 22 caliber, .218 H&N 34 grain. These slugs are extremely accurate to a very long distance as far as air guns go. I'm pushing these at about 300 yards on average. I've taken them out to 450, but I tend to play around and fight wind a whole lot more than I really need to, so I may switch over to a heavier projectile at that time, but I rarely go out that far. These slugs come in a little tin. I believe there's 150 in these. The BC is .108, .109, if I remember right. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're running the gun at 160 bars, 160 bars. We have our main wheel set at 13 and our macro set at 4. We have a 300cc bottle. We have a bag rider, which gives us something for the bag to sit on or set our arm on when we're shooting. Otherwise you have this big gap that's kind of hard to kind of fill a gap that big when you're shooting prone or anything else. This gun comes with a little barricade stop, which is meant to push the gun up against objects in order to help make it more stable. I custom made this one here and 3D printed it. It's a longer one, so it gives you plenty of surface area, just in case you have one that, in case you have a stop that's kind of slanted, you can kind of get down there a little bit farther versus being stuck on maybe pushing on an angle here. This is a saber tack rail. It adds 4 pounds to this gun. These guns, the center of gravity, because this is not a traditional barrel, it's a liner with a shroud, a jam nut, and some O-rings, so it's pretty light up here. So you have all your weight back here along with this heavy scope, and it puts your center of gravity way far back from where you want it. This 4-pound rail here helps move that center of gravity up to where when you rest this thing on a bag or a barricade, the gun is holding itself up. It tends to take a lot of the operator issues out when you got a properly balanced rifle. We have a Scout Air Guns tripod, which I recently purchased. I love this little thing. It's absolutely phenomenal. Whether you're shooting prone, bench rest, modified prone, shooting off of the lid of a 55-gallon drum, a rooftop, this tripod will help you out. Swivels, either way. You can extend the legs. I'm not sure how tall. I haven't really measured them, but I would guess you could probably stand this thing up about yay tall, maybe a little taller. Not that I would. I probably would never do that. I'd probably mainly use it about right where it's at. Maybe kick the legs out maybe a click or two. We do have 2 extra weights up here, and my center of gravity with this setup as it is about right here. Now if I take this off and I add my other bipod. This is the one I usually leave on the gun when I'm shooting off of all kind of obstacles, unless I'm shooting something prone or off a rooftop or something. Like I said, this here is mainly going to stay on the gun, and this adds a lot of weight. So I more than doubled the weight of this with this stainless steel rod, and I filled it with lead, welded it all up, painted it. So this thing is very heavy. So I'll leave this on this gun, and I'll put it at the very front. So it actually kind of protects my barrel from bouncing off of barricades if I accidentally swing it around, or if I hit it off a cattle gate. You know, I can kind of protect the most important part of this gun with this, as well as putting my center of gravity, moving it from here all the way up to about right here. So when I bed this thing on a bag, this gun will just sit there. Which the only thing I have to do as the shooter is just find my target and pull the trigger. Now this bipod here is a MDT pod. Very agile. We got a whole lot of stances on this. We can make it like this. We can extend these legs out real easy, which is nice because you can just pull them out. We can drop them forward on 45 degrees that way. We can also take them, extend them in if we're shooting at something narrow. So now we have it like that. We can extend them a lot farther out. The other thing which is kind of nice about these is I can flip this around. I can flip this around and now have another barricade stop. So if I wanted to leave this on and I wanted to push up here, which I don't know why I would. I kind of maybe ruined that when I put this weight on here, because now I'd have to have my bipod all the way out to here, versus the bolt that was here would allow me to put this barricade stop about right here. So I may have ruined it for that aspect, but I would never use it for that aspect personally. Thing does pivot. It's a very nice bipod. I really do like these. Now, what I was talking about protecting this is on these air guns, the Panthera I've had issues with. Like, this is a great gun, fantastic gun, shoots very accurate, competes with just about everything competes with just about anything I can go up against. But I have noticed before when I'd swing through somewhere and maybe I'd bounce this barrel, if you hit these barrels wrong, you do run the risk of potentially changing your point of impact, which when you're doing stages, that's a big no-no. So the biggest learning curve I had from running rimfire is my Voodoo, my Brigera, and my 457. I could really be aggressive with them. I mean, as long as my scope was tightened down properly, my action was bedded properly, I could essentially drop them without worrying about them. I could bounce them off of this, bounce them off of that. You know, I mean, it's all accidental, but it will happen. And it's one thing where when you switch over to air guns, or if you do, you want to make sure that you give yourself a little bit more time and be a little more cautious on, you know, where this barrel is, because like I said, this is held together with a jam nut. It's a thin liner. It's got a shroud, and it moves, and it can move if you hit it. So just be very aware of that, because that's definitely not something you want to start a stage off of, or even get partially through a stage. So I would highly recommend it if you ever bump your gun, somebody walks past and accidentally knocks it over, you know, reaching down to get there, because that will happen too. You want to make sure, you know, that you figure out if you can check your zero real quick and just double check before you run into that issue and get frustrated. Now we're running a Vortex Gen 3. This is a 6x36. I do love this scope. I'm not talking it up, but I really do enjoy this scope. I love the turrets. They're nice and big, nice audible clicks. The zero stop, very easy. Setting your zero is just as simple as locking your turrets down. Wherever that, loosen up this screw here, and you have a whole nother dial up here, and this here is what you actually zero your gun to. And once you're done with that, you're done. So it's nice. This thing will parallax all the way down to 10 yards, which is pretty darn close. Now I have shot matches where they had targets at 15 yards, so that really did come in help, or that really did come into play. I leave this scope usually on 15 power. I found when I shoot stages that if I zoom in a ways, then I'm probably going to hit another stage, the next one that's a little bit closer, or just going to jack me up. So I try and leave my scope on a single power to where I practice at longer distance and shorter distance, finding my targets and getting on target on a lower power, so I'm not stuck in a stage trying to figure out why I can't find a target, all because I may have zoomed this thing in way too close the match before. Now when shooting these, you'll do a lot of holdovers, you'll do a lot of custom turrets, or you do a lot of turret turning. So you want to be really, so you want to get real familiar with trying to get faster at dialing your turrets if you're not going to be doing holdovers. Now this gun, what's really nice about this gun is you can run the same weight projectiles as a 22 long rifle. So this here being a mil scope, a lot of my holdovers and adjustments are going to be really similar to the rimfire guys. Like, I might not be using a 40 grain, but I am very close to the same holdovers. Now I got some 40 grains coming, so we'll give them a shot here pretty soon, and we'll see how good I can get them to group. Maybe I'll switch over. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that's possible. Now these guns, you do have to tune them. So anything you get, whether you want to run 22 grain slugs, 40 grain slugs, pellets, whatever you want to get, you have these dials back here that are going to help you. You have a regulator down here for this main gauge, and there's a charge that is a charge that you're putting in your plenum. Then you have your adjustment wheels here. Now you're going to be adjusting your hammer spring tension to try and compensate to make sure that you get all of your charge out. Because what will happen is if you have too much pressure up here and you don't have enough pressure on your trigger, then you're not going to be able to hold that valve open and get that full charge out. Now on air guns, I found the best way I tune them is I find my feet per second, and I really like to listen to the gun. The gun tells me how it's shooting. I can tell whether it's being consistent. I can tell whether I have stuff going on, whether my projectile's going out right. They like to talk, and that's one thing that's kind of nice about these, is you can really listen how they're going. I don't run a moderator on this. I found it just adds a few extra inches on my barrel that I just don't like. It makes it a little bit harder to get in and out of certain areas, whether I'm shooting through portholes or whether I'm shooting through cattle gates that are pretty narrow, trying to get back and move into the next one. Just that 5 or 6 extra inches makes a big difference, and it also knocks down my speed quite a bit. So just taking that off, I can actually start saving some seconds. And when you're shooting matches that are running minute 45 for a whole bunch of shots, maybe 12 or 15, versus a 10 shot stage at 2 minutes that may not have a whole lot of movements or a whole lot of it or a whole lot of holdovers, you'll find that you really want to save time. The more time that you have to get set up and get in position and be able to take your shot without having to rush, the more accurate you're going to be, and the more able you're going to be to really compete if that's what your goal is. There's some people that just want to go out and have fun. I'm that guy, but I also like competing. There's other guys that get really competitive, but you won't meet a better group of guys than the guys that I shoot with. I can assure you that. Now we got the rifle out of the way. I could go on for days about this thing. There's so much of these. A lot of the videos that I seen when I first got into it, they did not tell me the stuff that I wish I would have been able to get from other people. So there's a lot of little frustrations here and there. just jumping straight into it because I essentially had nobody to help me out. So it's a big learning curve, and I'm more than willing to help anybody and everybody. And I'll tell you everything I know, and I'd be more than happy to shoot with you because that's what I enjoy doing now. Let's switch over to the next one. So let me get this thing out of the way a little better here. Now we do run chamber flags, but before I forget, we do run chamber flags. So this here little piece of plastic is a block that actually goes in to where my mag well is. So my mag slides in like this, right through this here side. My mag slides in through here. Now this chamber will go in here. I'm actually working with another company, Haas and Shield. They're great guys that I met at the PRS Nationals, and I got them to and I drew them up some stuff off of this gun. So they're working on getting a mag block that'll actually clip to your belt loop. It has a little magnet on it, so you can just pull this off and slide it in, and it'll actually go into your chamber, probably about 1/4 of an inch, and it'll just sit there. Then whenever you're done, you just take it, you snap it over your belt, and you're good to go. And they're a lot nicer. I've seen them running at Nationals and Voodoos and 457s and stuff. What's really nice about them is you don't have to worry about figuring out where you put this. Right after you get done with your stage, a lot of times you put them in your pocket. You got a million pockets. You toss it on the ground. Maybe it gets kicked over by leaves. It'll just save us a headache. Once they get that first one made, and I get one, I'll be more than happy to give you guys a video and show you what it is, and hopefully get those out to you guys here pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about using them. Just to be honest, I've kind of been really wanting one since I've seen them on some buddies' rifles. Now let's switch over to this. Here is a Gray Ops weighted plate, so I can mount this on my gun. And if I don't want to use my big bags, I can mount this right on my ARCA rail. So this ARCA rail, which I probably skipped right past, this ARCA rail is about the most versatile thing you can possibly think of. We're so used to Picatinny rails and Weaver rails, but this ARCA is the game changer as far as being able to swap out parts really fast, because you can literally just slide them on. You don't have to do nothing crazy. Really fast to pop different stuff on, and there's a very, very wide range of products that you can put on these rails. So this here, we can pop this on, and we can leave this on. So whenever we go up to a barricade, sorry, I say barricade all the time, but here we go. So like if I want to just drop it on something flat, I can just drop that gun on there. I can push across my barricade stop here, and now I have that. The other thing that's nice about these bags is you can use them for extra weight. If you're shooting prone, modified, or bench rest, you can leave that on there, and that'll help keep a ton of weight on the front of your gun. I don't remember the poundage, but I would assume, it's been so long to check, but I would assume that thing probably weighing close to 4 pounds. So to keep a lot of weight on the front of your gun, kind of limit of the movement of your gun when you're trying to be accurate, whether you're shooting little targets, big targets, or just paper. So now I got these. These are Karm magazines. Karm is out of Czechoslovakia, I believe, or CZ. I can't quite remember, I apologize. But they do very good work. These mags haven't let me down. They hold up very good. I've put these through a lot of abuse. They're nice. These are a little nicer than the factory mags. They're a little bit taller. So if you do want to switch over to bigger pellets, you're probably the biggest you're going to be able to get, maybe 38 grains on a standard FX magazine. Whereas these, you can run 40s. So that's another thing you got to watch for if you want to switch over to big pellets, or I'm sorry, big slugs, is you do want to get different magazines, or at least have them on the way. Otherwise you're going to be waiting another week to be able to shoot them slugs you've already been waiting on a week on. So got that out of the way. This is a little bag. I don't know what this thing's called, but we use it all the time. It's a little Armageddon bag. I use this a lot in the back. Whenever I'm shooting. I also use it in some stages where there's little portholes or something like that. It's kind of a narrower area where I can't use my bigger bags. I will use this thing a lot, but I also take this one off, and I'll use this one quite a bit too. So it just depends on which one I feel like reaching down and grabbing. But this is a wibod, and this is a Gray Ops weighted plate. I really like the weighted plates. Now we have a, I think these are called acorn bags. I can't quite remember, but we wax the bottom of these so these things don't want to slide off obstacles. Because like this nice smooth area here, you know, like gate panels, prime example, they're real smooth. So if you set this on there like this, you know, like this, like it's just going to want to roll off. So the buddy showed me that yesterday. A really good shooter is he waxed the crap out of this thing, and the thing just sat there, didn't move. Now the one thing you will run into is if you need to slide across that gate panel to make another series of shots, you're probably gonna have to pick it up because it's not gonna want to slide with your gun on it. It's just gonna bite. This is a nice bag because you can set it on flat surfaces, give you something nice flat to shoot off of, bed your gun in. You can set it, you know, small narrow obstacles like that, and it'll bed down, just kind of fall over. There are a bunch of different types of these bags. After shooting a friend's yesterday, his Game Changer, I may be picking up another bag, so I have to thank him for that. Spend some more money. Now switch over to the Kestrel. We're running a Kestrel Elite ballistic weather meter. I can type in my feet per second, my BC on this, and I can calibrate everything about this projectile out to a very long distance with this little meter. It will adjust for temperature. It'll adjust for the wind. It'll play holdovers. This thing is awesome. Now they do have two different models. The cheaper model, you will get, I think, 3 profiles, and I believe this one has 33 profiles. I would recommend anybody who's going to get one to just go ahead and get the more expensive one, because you're going to get it anyways. You start making different profiles for different size slugs. You know, even on my Voodoo, I had 3 or 4 profiles, whether I was running SK long range, match, Ely, you know, so it's kind of nice having these because I can, or it's kind of nice having one with more profiles. I can set up one for a 34 grain, 38 grain, 40 grain, you know, pellets. Like I can set up a lot of different profiles on this without worrying about having to delete profiles. Right now I think I have 12 in there, so that's plenty. It's a little bit of a learning curve on this, but if you know somebody that has one, these are very, very nice. I honestly can't say enough nice things about this. They really simplified this down to where anybody can operate it. But let's switch over here. When we switch over, we got to have a nice little rangefinder. This here's the one I picked off the clearance rack. This is a Leopold RX full draw. I've had a lot of good luck with this. Some of these matches you'll run into, the glass will fog up if you're shooting in real cold or you're shooting in rain. You have some issues. This one here hasn't let me down yet. It does really well. I got some other ones that I'm wanting to pick up. It's just can't beat this thing for $45, to be honest with you. So I keep, for being as this is an air gun, I keep a little extra stuff with me, tool wise. So I keep some extra wrenches, keep my O-ring kit. Well, some O-rings in here. I don't have enough to dissect the whole gun, but I have enough to get me by. I also keep a set of Allen wrenches in my bag. and that's come in handy for just about everything you can run into on any rifle. And I also carry some food grade grease, which is what you want to use for these. You don't want to use certain kinds of grease on these because you can damage the rifle. You can have issues with the higher pressure if it's not a certain type of grease. So I run a silicone grease. It's food grade. That does good for me. That's what I was recommended, and that's what I tend to use. But now I also carry another kit with me. This is kind of overkill, but we got them, and I really like the way they work. This is a WIA. This is a Torx kit. So it's got three different adjustable Torx screwdrivers and all the bits I can think of. As far as these little sockets, I've never used them, and I've had this kit for quite a few years now. So I make sure I torque down my rings properly. I torque down my base properly. Everything on these guns, I torque down properly, as well as checking the lapping on my rings. If you don't have very expensive rings that are guaranteed, then I would recommend lapping your rings. That's a fast way to have issues with your scope. You can actually damage your tube. You can cause your crosshairs to get a little wavy, so your shots will mess up on you. So I always recommend lapping. A lot of people would disagree, but when you see the bars that comes in the kit, and you put them together, and you see how far those needles can go, then you can imagine what these aluminum tubes, the amount of stress these aluminum tubes are going to be under as you start cranking them down with those pins not aligned up properly. Get them pins aligned up properly, your scope will be perfectly seated. You have perfect amount of grip all the way around it. You won't have to worry about your scope walking. I carry this gun by the scope all the time, and I don't ever have to worry about my point impact changing because of my scope rings. I think that's about it for this video. I hope that helps you out.